Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and this is my video on how to use vision in Vainglory. Part 1, we will be looking at scout traps. The part 2, obviously, will be looking at flares. So, how do we use vision in Vainglory? Well, first of all, let's find out how much vision a scout trap actually gives you. Scout traps will always illuminate brushes, but how much outside of brushes in terms of vision will they give you? The two scout traps marked with the X did not reveal the treant to me. The scout trap that I have marked with a dot and a circle did, so that's the estimated range of vision that I think a scout trap gives you. There isn't really any definitive vision control there. That is a small experiment that I did in practice mode, so take that as you will. So let's move on to the Halcyon Fold. And I've got a nice overhead image here, and the illuminated area in the yellow is what I like to call the neutral vision zone. This is pretty much always contested in the early game, and it's the area that you want to try and exert most control over, especially around Kraken times and gold mine taking times too. There is other areas, obviously, and I like to separate them into their own sections too. In the green, this is the defensive vision zone. You have to imagine that you are playing on the left-hand side of the screen, by the way. This is you playing A side. This is the area of your jungle that you have to control when you are behind, when you're trying to get some element of control of your enemy in the jungle. And the flip side of that is the offensive vision zone in red. This is where you contest when you're ahead. This is where you like to move your vision line to when you're the one knocking on the enemy's door. So, those are the three main areas of vision, especially around the jungle. Let's take a closer look at the neutral vision zone. Now, this can be separated in its own right into two sections also, the offensive and the defensive areas of the neutral zone. Remember, we are playing on the left-hand side of the screen here, guys. This is flipped over if you're playing on the other side. Let's have a look at the defensive zone first, and this is my favorite scout trap of all time. The arrows will illuminate the areas that it sort of protects against enemy movements. It protects enemies moving into the tri-brush, making invades through your healing camp, and also making lane ganks happen through the mustache brush. This jungle shop scout trap will protect enemies moving through the bottom side of your jungle, and also will protect you from getting ganked at your jungle shop if they are waiting for you. And the scout trap illuminated here basically gives vision of Kraken and gold mine, so you can always try and contest that where possible. These are my three 100% necessary scout traps that I always like to have in the early game. This scout trap I place in the lane. If I am not going to be in lane protecting my laner, I like to have this here because it will illuminate when an enemy jungler or an enemy support moves into your lane brush, and it also protects a little bit against ganks from the tri-brush if you lose your tri-brush ward. Let's have a look at the offensive vision wards. I like to place a scout trap as far away from the enemy in their lane brush, and that shows enemies moving in through their own lane brush. The enemy tri-brush scout trap that you see here will protect against enemy movements coming in through their middle, top and bottom side jungles. It's a great offensive vision control, especially around gold mine when you're trying to contest that. And the enemy jungle shop scout trap will show enemies shopping, and they don't always clear it, so you can get a bit of vision control when the enemy is going to the jungle shop. You can set up ganks, but also just be aware of where the enemy is. I haven't forgotten about the lane, guys. I like to put a scout trap in the top side brush when there are stealth heroes like Taka or Flicker that you have to contend with, and the two side brushes that you see illuminated by scout traps, I generally have those put scout traps in when enemies are looking to rush down lane into the Vein Crystal, and you want to make sure that you are aware that is happening. So that's sometimes why I put scout traps there. Let's have a look at the defensive zone then. This is the area that you will try and control when you are behind. This is the scout trap that is in the brush closest to your tier 2 turret. This protects against enemies moving in through your crystal miner and also enemies moving through the topside jungle. This is an interesting scout trap. It gets cleared very easily, but I like to put it in the little gap between those two rocks because it protects enemies moving in from the jungle and through your tri-brush. It does get cleared easily, but the damage can sometimes be really good. And I like to put these two scout traps as well as this third scout trap when your crystal miner is dead, because it basically shows you when enemies are moving in through the middle jungle, and also can illuminate when they are around your double camps and around your healing camps, so those are pretty important too. I like to put scout traps here around your choke point turret because they can be good in terms of damage if the enemy makes a team diving or a tower dive and you want to protect that. And then putting scout traps near your wall if you're worried about a backdoor from an enemy that can cross walls like Glaive or like Baron. So just those are good scout traps to have when you're trying to desperately protect your Vein Crystal from a backdoor and you're trying to make a comeback. Let's have a look at the offensive zone then, guys. This is what I like to call the Flashx scout trap. Now, I'm not sure that Flashx invented it, but it's the first time I ever saw it was on his stream. You place it behind the enemy healing treant, and it just shows you when enemies are moving through their middle side jungle, and it doesn't get cleared very easily. Basically does the same thing as the scout trap illuminated below it, but it's just a little bit harder to clear. I like to have this offensive line of vision, especially when we are pushing the tier 2 turrets and choke point turrets, because it controls when enemies are moving into their jungle, and also shows you enemies trying to contest when you're going for invades. And the scout trap that I like to place in the enemy lane brush, especially in the late game, is important when you're trying to bait enemies around their tri brush, especially when Kraken is up. It will show you when they move into that brush from the lane. There we go. Though we've covered the entire area of scout traps in a very short amount of time. People often also ask me about Contraption, as something that's happened in a lot of my YouTube comments. I buy Contraption against stealth heroes like Taka, Kestrel and Flicker as a second item, sometimes as a first item. If I'm not facing those types of heroes, I usually only buy it after I've bought the other necessary items like Crucible, Atlas and War Treads alongside Fountain. Obviously, that is the go-to first item. Where do you put scout traps when you have a Contraption? Well, here's a handy infographic for you, as it pretty much shows you where I place scout traps when I have Contraption. Don't take this seriously, by the way, guys. Literally put them anywhere. When you have Contraption, you can flood the map with scout traps. It doesn't matter where you put them, as long as you're putting them in the key areas highlighted in this video. Elsewhere, you can shove them wherever you like. Well, that was scout traps in around 6 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's tried to show you as much info as possible about where I like to use scout traps and like to use my vision control. The next guide will be about flares in the follow-up on this series, so don't hesitate to comment if you have any issues with this or you want to get any more information on scout traps. Obviously, I'll do my best to answer them like I always do. Thank you very much, guys, and see you soon.